starters on the Orioles roster: Corbin, Burns, Santander, etc. So now this week we're going to talk about the free agency in terms of what the team actually needs, right? So what do the Orioles actually need in free agent? What is actually has to happen next year? So what spots are they looking for basically in 2025? All right. So we're talking about Orioles team needs. What don't you need, right, in 2025? What's something I have a really special name for it? Non-needs, right? Nothing clever there, but these are things the Orioles probably won't be looking at free agency or anything like that. It's already on the roster here. Starting catchers, obvious one, Adley Rutschman. The only question is he going to get a long-term extension, which I would like to see. A lot of us fans would like to see. Is Adley going to get a long-term extension going forward? First base, I don't think they're going to do anything there. Interesting to see if Mountcastle comes back and starts. Ryan O'Hearn comes back, even though he has the option, so that's interesting there. Also, too, Kobe Mayo is there. So I don't think between all those things, I don't think anything else happens. I don't think they're actually going to go out and look for anything at first base. Shortstop, Gunnar Henderson. I'd like to see them move Gunnar, frankly. I don't think he's that good of a shortstop defensively, but I think they're going to leave him there if he wants to stay there. From everything I don't think they're going to move him from. I think ball accounts he's going to stay there as well. Left field, that's going to be Colton Cowser. But all rights, pretty much. I think he's going to stay there. They might move him to center, depending on what happens with Mullins. But I think Mullins will probably stay as well. We'll see. And the closer is Felix Bautista. I don't think they're going to do anything there as far as ninth inning or anything like that. They're definitely going to use Felix Bautista there. All right. So what do the O's need? Middle relief pitching. So what's already there? Yadier Cano, Danny Colombe, Colano Perez, Jacob Webb, Sir Anthony Dominguez, and Keegan Aiken. So you got a couple guys that may not be here. Colombe, Perez, and Dominguez all have opt-outs, possible opt-outs, contracts, things they're going to look at. For sure, you're going to have Yadier Cano next year. I think that's probably him and Batista are the only two I'm going to pencil in on the roster in 2025. I'd be enormously surprised if we didn't have any of those other two. All bets are off, I think, in all other situations. I think they're definitely going to be looking for guys in the offseason. Definitely, it's not unusual for almost all teams to look for middle relief pitching and sign somebody if they like them. I think there's going to be a couple names out there that they're going to look at. Maybe a Clay Holmes or something like that, middle relief or something if he can't get a closer job. But I definitely think middle relief pitching is something that they're absolutely looking at. Number 5, backup catcher. James McCann, Maverick Hanley, who was the catcher there in AAA for a lot of the year. Samuel Basallo, I think, is probably going to be, if he's not already, one of the number one prospects in all of baseball, certainly top 10 as well. I'm not sure what's going to happen here. I think this is going to be very fascinating. I'm going to start at the top of the list here, like I should. James McCann, I think, because I think there's a decent enough chance you could resign him. I know some fans rail on McCann, not a great hitter. Really look at the stats of the backup catchers to deny him. At least he's hitting over 200. And I'm serious. He's good enough defensively. I think he's a good veteran presence. I think he's absolutely a good spot for him. I don't believe if they re-sign him that there's a problem. I don't think he's going to be that expensive. I do kind of think but in light of that, I kind of thinking the more I've looked at it, there could be some interest in him. I can't imagine with the dearth of catchers that nobody would want a James McCann or at least look at it. It's possible they could want to go a cheaper route. So Maverick Hanley, I don't think it's out of the question that they take a look at that as far as illustrating playing if they get rid of him. Sammy Bassano, I think, is definitely going to be a catcher. It's going to be fascinating to do. You're not going to start a catcher for the Orioles. So I don't know if you just want to leave him in the minors. I don't know. So it'll be interesting to see. Would you have him as a backup for the whole season? I wouldn't think so. But we will see what happens with him. But he's about major league ready. So they're going to have to make a decision, move him, something like that. So interesting to see what's happening there. For utility infield, always kind of looking for that. Jorge Mateo, Yamon Urias, Jackson Holiday, and Kobe Mayo. Mateo, I think absolutely could be on the roster as a utility infielder. I think he's perfect in that role. I think he can play several positions well defensively. He has great speed. I think he's absolutely perfect. Yamon Urias, I don't think is perfect. He's not. With all due respect to him, I think he actually does fine if he starts. Some guys are just not utility guys, not as productive in a reserve role. They keep putting him in a reserve role. That's not what he can. I think he's definitely fine. History tells me that they don't move around these guys, but you never know. I think another team may look at him, possibly. Jackson, could they use him in utility role? I think it's possible. Not sure. Jackson Holiday, it's possible. I don't know where they are with Jackson Holiday, frankly. Kobe Mayo is also another fascinating one. Terrible at third base. Just frankly terrible. He really needs to work on that. As offensive player, definitely could see him at first. I think it's possible, but could they move him around? Maybe try him in outfield or something else. So I think that's interesting to see. I think they could go outside here also and look at something like that. So it wouldn't shock me if they did that. What's going to happen? Who's going to start at second base? Jackson Holiday, Jorge Mateo, Jordan Westburg. Mateo, if he's healthy enough to start, he actually wasn't bad, I think, over there. The quandary is this Westburg. What do you do with him? I think it's very possible that they're not going to promise Jackson Holiday anything at the start of next year. I absolutely could see Jordan Westburg being the starter at second base. Interesting to see. I don't think they bring somebody else in. I think it's somewhat possible. They may work with what they have. Holiday, I think, is good enough at second, but it'll be I'm kind of not sure what they're going to do here. I think wouldn't floor me if they looked at the free agents at second base either. Wouldn't completely knock me down. I don't know. I don't think there's a lot out there at second, but it'll be interesting to see. But definitely, they kind of need to figure this out here at second. Right field is definitely going to be a thing. Colton Cowser, I think he's probably the projected starter in left. It's definitely possible. He can absolutely play right. Definitely Gold Glove consideration. Congratulations to Colton Cowser for that. So absolutely. Heston Kjerstad, it's believed that he is going to be the presumptive right fielder, step in for Anthony Santander, who is obviously a free agent, going to have some bids. I think it's going to be Kjerstad. It's possible. Some fans have said Soto they're going to look at. I don't see a universe where you pay Soto. I mean, he's going to want a lot of money. A lot of money. I'm probably thinking it could be a platoon of some kind, or they bring in a vet of some kind. I think they kind of bring in maybe a Jefferson Profar or somebody like that. Somebody where it's less money or something. That I could see in right field if they're not immediately with Kjerstad. It's hard to tell what they're going to do, but they don't seem to want to hand a lot of these young guys the job. They like leaving their options open. That's kind of what I've seen. They're reluctant to trade away a young player. They're reluctant to, they kind of like kept everything. Some of these guys should have already been decided, but they kind of want to hold on to a lot of these guys. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. So they definitely need, but I don't think it's out of the pale that they could look at a Jefferson Profar, Bellinger, or something. I wouldn't shock me. I think nobody's mentioned that. Everybody's just assuming it's going to be Kjerstad, but I don't think it's out of the realm That's going to happen. I don't think Santander signs. I don't think he signs. I think he signs with a different team. I do think he's going to have some value on the trade market. Starting pitching, you can never have enough starting pitching. I think that's going to be the number one need. Your top two guys, I think you have big problems. Burns, I think, is the number one free agent in all of baseball. He's going to come in huge dollars. I don't think he resigns with the Orioles. I think it's somewhat possible. The Orioles are going to try and sign him because, of course, they would. I think he could be the best pitcher in all of baseball. Grayson, I don't think you're worried about Grayson's pitching performance. He has had the lat injury a couple times, missed a lot of this year, has never really pitched a full season as a pitcher. Bit of a concern. Should be ready to go, but it's a problem. I think Eflin, for sure, you're going to have back at least for next year as well. Dean Kramer, Albert Suarez, Cade Povich. Kramer, I'm thinking you put him in the rotation. After that, I'm not sure. Suarez and Povich, I think, are going to be fighting for rotation / bullpen spots. I'm thinking they sign a starter in the offseason. I'd be surprised if they didn't sign a starter. Michael Wacha is somebody maybe they look at. Kind of the same attitude I think they might have with that. I think the process could be, and I'm just thinking based on what they've done before, if we can't get Corbin Burns, we can kind of get a Michael Wacha. We can maybe get a lesser value, something like that, where they can go ahead and get a guy who can eat up some innings for him. I don't know if there's anything enough there also too in the minors to do it as well. We're going to talk about Brandon Young, Cade McDermott, Trace Bright. Don't know. I think they need to go get somebody because I think Burns is going to leave most likely. There you go. Team needs. So Orioles. It's harder to read them than it is the Ravens for me, at least, because I'm not sure yet. We have a new ownership group. A lot of new people in the business are gone. A lot of the business people, the Angelos family, was officially bought out completely this week. Angelos is no longer in the organization at any level. So we'll see. They are keeping Michael Elias and Brandon Hyde. They did lose their hitting coaches. I did put that on the site this week. So interesting to see what happens. I definitely think there's going to be some free agent movement possibly in the top two spots. They're definitely going to look for a starting pitcher. I don't know if it's going to be a Burns level guy, if there is a guy like that, but we'll see what happens this offseason. Thank you very much for joining us for the Ravery Sports Podcast. Like and subscribe.